Hey, good morning. So, the government provides all these programs, retirement, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, welfare, right? It provides welfare, some unemployment. It's all kinds of programs for education, right? So we provide all these things, but they're supposed to provide a positive benefit. And the government is notorious for producing great intentions that don't have the right kind of payback. And so, what's this first program I want to talk about is it's called the 501k. It's like a 401k, but not everybody can be in one of those. So this is going to kind of be a savings program for everyone for retirement, for not only medical retirement, but for the stipend you might get from Social Security. So why haven't we been able to fix this? It's not like we haven't tried. And there are two problems that just keep this unsolvable, right? The first one is that life expectancy keeps going up. The problem with the genesis was they fixed the retirement age, and that's created all kinds of problems because the life expectancy increased another 15 years since the inception, which means we have to pay 15 more years of benefits that might otherwise have been expected since we started the program, right? Same for Medicare. But the second part is we keep expanding the number of people that are in the program. It used to be just anti-poverty. Now Bill Gates get a check. Joe Biden and Donald Trump get a check. Is that what we really want to be doing? If people don't really need it, why are we sending out checks? So, we've got some problems that maybe were okay 80 years ago, but man, it's the 21st century, right? So what have we done? So because we keep having these scope problems and life expectancy increases, we keep increasing taxes. And we've done that 32 times since 1936, right? And it's never solved the problem. Now, if we use taxes, and the Social Security Administration will freely tell you this, although it's well hidden from us, news doesn't report it very often, nor do politicians. But to fix it with a tax now, we're at 7.65%. So if you're making $100,000, that's $7,650 you're paying into Social Security and Medicare. To fix it, you have to double the taxes to 15.1%. So if you're paying nearly $8,000, you'd be paying nearly $16,000 next year just so I can get a check. I don't want to do that, right? I like you guys a lot, right? And I don't think you want that to happen either. So the other thing is, we can just borrow to infinity, right? That's, you millennials, that's gonna hit you, right? Because, right now, we have interest paid at a little over $400 billion a year. Imagine it was 2 or 3 times that. I mean, we're borrowing money to borrow money, right? That's insane, right? The other one is, we've tried to reduce benefits maybe as an option. And Social Security Administration says to make the budget work, you'd have to reduce everybody's benefits by 1/3, right? So guys that are rich or retired probably don't care. Guys that are poor and retired care, right? So, that's probably not the best way. You could means test, which was a good idea, but it's never got any legs because if you means test without doing something else, then you're basically telling a big chunk of people it's like you paid a bunch of money literally for nothing. What's the payback? Well, I wouldn't mind means testing me if I knew my kids would be helped. But the way they're going to means test really isn't going to help the kids much at all. It'll keep the taxes, instead of being 15.1%, maybe down to 12, right? It's not big enough, right? We could save. We've looked at a couple options. The problem, if you save, you have to cut the budget somehow, right? So you have to reduce expenses, and nobody's put anything together that makes sense there. And then most important, you need to do something with the age, and we've talked about raising it again. We had it raised from 65 to 67 over the last couple of decades. It needs to be about 69.5 right now to accommodate what's happened this century. So how do you do all those things and make it work, right? Well, 3 simple things, and it's, this is sad. I've been looking at this for a couple of decades, and it's kind of like I couldn't quite get my head around it, right? But, nobody wants to raise the age in Congress because it's, how do you get those votes, right? So what you need to do is float the age, right? Is associate it with life expectancy so it'll rise or fall. It'll fall this year, actually, naturally. without anybody voting on it, right? So if we needed to be 69.5 this year instead of 67, the retirement age, or excuse me, life expectancy is 78.5. If you just set an equation that says each year, life expectancy minus 9 years would get you 69.5 this year. If it's 100, and we're going to get there, guys, for life expectancy, then it'd be 91. So you have this nice tight budgetary thing, which really helps constrain the budget, right? As we're living longer, we're going to have a few more careers anyway, so we're going to work longer. But at the end of the day, it's really helpful if you, I mean, it's imperative that you float it. Then what do? Well, all of a sudden, if you can float the age, that saves, and up it a little, that saves about 15% of the $1.7 trillion we spent this year. If you means test, you know, the top 5%, you know, who don't really need the money, right? They got their millions set aside, right? Don't need any of this. That saves about 15% on the budget as well. If you kind of means test across everybody, you'd find out people like me, you know, you could means test and get, and I'm all up for this. If I had to give back 10 or 20% in terms of, you know, what my Medicare cost or the stipend I might get from Social Security, just so the kids don't get taxed, I'm thrilled with that, right? But what happens then, let's say, you know, out of the box, we get about a 40% means testing, raising the age, floating the age kind of stuff, savings. Well, that's $600 billion that comes out of the budget, which we can save in individual 501k accounts. Well, if you start saving, a couple of things happen. You know, the first one is over 40 years, we have $100 trillion in personal nest eggs to take care of ourselves that we can means test, right? Which will lower the budget, and it will between. Now it's 30 to 40%, it'd be 50 to 75% in 40 years. Here's the other thing. Our taxes go down. So here's what we get to do. Of the 7.65% out of the gate, we can save 4.65% and tax at 3% on the individual. Business stays the same for about 20 years, but at that point, because the budgets are so good, it starts shrinking, right? So we can lower the taxes over there. At about 40 years, we're saving 6%, we're taxed 1.65% for both the employer and for the employee. It's this financial gold mine that produces huge benefits. Even the poorest person, had we been doing this for 50 years, has $100K in the bank. That's great. But here's the biggest benefit. It probably helps the economy grow at least 0.5% to 1% a year, because all the extra money in private investment savings creates jobs, right? So anyway, that's a program. It's 8 minutes. It's a long one, guys. Sorry. Anyway, I'll talk about a little more about education and anti-poverty programs. How they are the same thing if we do it right. I'll see you next time. Thanks.